All right, good afternoon, friends. Today I'm going to be making a new bag that I'm calling Parabola. And a parabola is basically a U shaped object, from my understanding. I'm not a math whiz. I barely got through general math, but that's what I believe it is. I believe it's a U shaped object. So, let me show you what you need for it. You need a zipper that is about 12 inches long. You need two pieces of, these are going to be the lining pieces. You need two pieces of uh, batting. And let me say, I should have said this at the beginning. I cut all my fabric 7 inches by 10 by 11 inches, 7 by 11. So keep that in mind. All of these, now this one is a little bit shorter, but it'll be okay because it'll go underneath the zipper. Um, this one is probably uh, 11 by 6 for the front. But anyhow, I generally cut them all 7 by 11. I don't know, this must have been some odd piece. So you've got your two lining pieces, your two batting pieces. Now you need three main pieces. You need one piece for the back, which I'm going to use this beautiful fabric here that I got from my friend Margot. And then for the and it's going to be the applique. This other one will be the applique on the front, and this black piece will be the piece where some beautiful stitching is done. So, all right, I think that's about it. Obviously, and well, I won't say obviously. This is for the 6 by 10 hoop. I've got my stabilizer hooped up, and as most of you know, I use paper towel as stabilizer. I call it the original tearaway stabilizer. So you can use that if you want to. If not, that's fine. Use whatever you're comfortable with. I'm not telling you any way. This is what I'm comfortable with. It's worked out fine for me. And I always trim. I don't know about you, but I don't like all that hanging over mess, because I know with these baby lock machines, when you're sticking the hoop in, sometimes this overhang will get stuck between the needle and the other piece that's on there, and just create a mess for the moment to deal with. So, anyhow, I think I run my mouth enough on that. Let me take this over here to the. There's the Scotch tape. Let me stick this in the machine. Lord, we're on step one, of course, and I always use a dark thread to run the outline, step one, which is the outline, so I can actually see. But I am going to be using, I think, white thread for for most of the bag. So anyhow, I'm starting out with black for this purpose, so it'll show up nicely, and we can all see where things will be placed. So let me run that, and I'll be right back. All right, now the outline of the bag has been run. The zipper uh, will be the next thing we're going to deal with. We're going to place the zipper, and I've got my 12-inch zipper here. You want to put, now this is on a baby lock Spirit. Our brother would be the same way. You want to place your head of your zipper here on the left as you're looking at it from, here's the connector. So you want to place the head down this way, and you see four lines here. The top line, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the two center lines are where the actual stitching will take place. So keep that in mind when you're placing your zipper down, to where, so you'll just know that's where the actual stitching on the zipper will take place in the next step. And I recommend number 3 nylon zippers. and they are exactly 1 inch wide, and this area here between this 4 lines here, this is 1 inch. So anyhow, let's attach our I'm going to tape down my zipper and then stick it in the machine and have it sewn down. And also, when it gets to this end over here, it's not going to cut the thread here. It's just going to sew right over that uh, the area, the zipper coils itself. So, and then continue back up this way. So keep that in mind if that's a problem for your machine. If you may need to stop your machine and manually advance it a few stitches if there's some issue with that, but it's not a problem for, I know, the Baby Lock and the Brother machines, and I know my FOV would be fine with it, and so would my Genome machine. Anyhow, let me stop and do that, and I'll be back in a moment. And before I sew it, I just wanted to show you how I had put tape here at on this side, this end, a little piece of tape here, a little piece of tape up there, and then another bigger piece of tape on the opposite end. So anyhow, it goes in the machine now, and I'll show you that in a moment. All right, you can see now where the zipper has been sewn down with the black thread, and the next thing we're going to do is put on our the fabric that will be the main fabric, which will be this fabric which will have stitching on it. That's the next thing that goes down, and also our first piece of lining on the back side of the hoop. So let me walk over here and show you how that's done. All right, starting on the back, I'm going to take my first piece of lining, and you want to place it face down, and you want to center it between the two sides, obviously, and just put it where it, this bottom line here, see there's 4 lines, just line up this piece of lining fabric with this bottom line and tape it down, and let me do that and I'll be right back. Right, you can probably see, or maybe see, no, you barely can. There's a piece of tape here, a small piece of tape no, I can't even see it, right here, and then another piece of tape over here on the side. So next thing, you need to pick up your hoop. I'm picking it up by the bracket here, the connector, and let the piece of fabric fall over to the front. And let me make sure this is okay. Need to fold it over several times, and with a piece of tape it to the edge of the frame of the hoop, because it needs to stay up like this out of the way for quite a number of steps. So let me do that. Okay, you can see that I've taped that down. It's folded over and taped down, so hopefully that'll keep it where it needs to stay. And next thing, we take our piece of in this case solid piece of fabric, because this is the one that's going to have all the stitching, so I would think you would want a solid piece of fabric. So take it and put it, same thing, make sure on both sides it's fairly equal, and place it right at the edge of the zipper, the bottom edge. So let me do that, and I will be back in a moment. Okay, you can see that I have taped in the same locations as on the back for the lining fabric, but actually you can actually see it here. So I'm going to take this over to the machine and stick this in, and a line of stitches will be, a line of stitches will be sewn right through here, which will sew down this front piece and the back piece of lining. So let me do that and I'll be right back. Right, you can see barely, because it's black thread, you can see that this has been sewn down. That's fine. And then on the back, always check your back. You can see that it's been sewn down also. It's the bobbin side, but it's where it should be. So the next thing we want to do is take one of our pieces of batting, and like I say, this this is a little shorter piece of batting because it's going to go right under this stitch line here. So let me see where that is. Okay, let me fold down the top piece over the batting, and I'm lazy. I'm just going to, after I put the camera down, I'm going to just kind of finger press this. I generally like a nice crease along here, but I don't feel like fooling with the iron at the moment. So the next thing we run, step 4, we'll sew right under here, down here, cross here, and back up here. So let me do that, and I'll be back in a moment. All right, and you can barely see where that stitching has occurred on all 4 sides. So, and of course the batting is underneath, so it gives a little more stability to the bag to have the batting. So the next thing we're going to do is put this back in the machine, and oh, it's raining. Good. I'm going to put this back in the machine, and I'm going to no, I'm going to leave the black thread in. We're going to, this piece here now, the actual applique piece is going to be added, which is that pretty multicolored fabric. So let me stick this back in the machine, and this will then show us where we need to place that fabric, and then for it to be sewn down in the next step. So let me do that. Be right back. All right, you can see where the placement line has been sewn down, and so let me go over here and grab this piece of fabric and just basically lay it across the whole thing, since it's 7 by 11 also. So I'm going to stick this back in the machine, and the machine will sew this down. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. All right, now let me see. You might be able to see the stitching here. I can feel it with my finger. I can't see it. Anyhow, this has now been stitched down. Now we're going to take and trim. So grab your whatever scissors you use for trimming applique, and I'm going to start over here right at the edge and come in and follow this line. Well, I can't see it right here, down here, and then I'm going to cut right off here, leaving this part alone. I want to have that in the seam when it's finally sewed down, so it'll be held down well. Anyhow, I'm going to do that trimming, and I'll be right back. All right, you can see I've done my trimming, and the next thing that will be done is some beautiful stitching on the black fabric, and I'm going to change my thread. Obviously black on black wouldn't show up. I'm going to change my thread to, I think, an orange, pretty orange. I think that'll really stand out, but I got several colors I could use. I could use this color or this blue, this purple, but I'm going to use orange. So let me do that step. That step takes a few minutes because there's quite a few stitches there. So let me do that, and I'll be back after that's done. All right, that beautiful orange stitching has been completed. It's a little busy. This is just, now that I see it together, this is just a little too busy for me, but I think this is just absolutely gorgeous, this orange floral stitching. So I think I'd do the stitching, but maybe use something not quite so out there. But I love this. It's a beautiful colors and such, but probably not best for this particular design. So the next thing that's going to happen is there's going to be stitching right across right here where this raw edge is, and so it's going to stitch actually all the way across here, satin stitch. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, that now you see we've got satin stitches through here, or a satin stitch all the way across the top, and I didn't cut close enough on this fabric here to the stitch line because I've got a little bit of few pieces showing. So do a better job than I've done and make sure you trim very, very closely. So anyhow, but be that as it may, we're continuing to the next step, which is going to go and make a satin stitch all along this applique part, this bottom part of the applique and side part, because I don't want any rough edges here. So let me do that and I'll be back momentarily. All right, now that stitching has been completed, and I think it looks nice. And so what we need to do now is we need to let this finally untape this and let that piece of lining roll back to the back. And need to pull it down tautly and tape it on both corners. And while you're at it, I always take my seam ripper and go in right here at the corner and get this started. We want to remove this stabilizer from the back of the zipper all along here. So do those two, the taping and the removing of the stabilizer, and run the next step, which is step 10. Okay, now you can see the stitching has gone all the way around all four sides. You can see it's actually gone over the satin stitching, giving it a nice little design there. At least to me, it's a design. I like the way that looks. Hopefully it won't bother you. And then we turn it over, and I can see I've removed the stabilizer, and you can see that now the lining piece has been sewn down. Now we're going to take and undo our zipper here, and let me see if I can pull it off without pulling the, I'm gonna have to put the phone down. Right, I took and removed that piece of tape. Now open your zipper up to about 3 quarters of the way or so over here, maybe right there. So make sure you've done this, very important. Now if you're going to add which I'm not, but if you're going to add any kind of attachment pieces, like for a strap, you might place one about an inch in from each side. You would, or maybe one here on the side even, you would do that at this point in the making of the bag. Like I say, I'm not going to do that, but I use, the little connector, I use a 3/4 inch by 3 inch piece of usually vinyl, and you would put the top of it, the two open, you fold it in two, and if you want to stick in between some kind of a metal piece, you do that. But I would it would hang down into here. The metal piece would be down in here, and make sure that you tape that metal piece down so it doesn't wiggle its way up through here and get hit by the presser foot and cause a disaster. So anyhow, it would hang down into here, not hanging up as you might expect, but it would hang down with the open ends up here. But this is where the sewing is going to occur, right along this line or right above it, so it'll make sure and sew down the piece or pieces if you put another one over here or maybe over here. Anyhow, now I want to take and grab the back piece. This is your back piece of fabric, and place it face down, and make sure that you've got all the sides covered, and make sure that you're a little bit with this top, you're a little over the zipper, and you're fine at the bottom. And take your piece of 7 by 11 batting and place that over that in the same way. And see, I'm going to scoot it. I'm going to have to do this after I put the phone down. I'm going to scoot it where it's exactly over this piece of fabric here. And once you've got that done, run step 11. So let me do that. All right, now you can see that the back uh, piece and the lining have been sewn down, and so turn your hoop over to the back of the hoop because we need to place the last thing, which is another piece of the lining. We need to place it face down and place it as you did on the front. Just have the edge up here slightly above this top line of the zipper, and just like that. And now tape this down on all four corners and put it in and run the last step, step 12, and that will leave an opening down here at the bottom to turn the bag. So do that and meet me back in a moment. And I just wanted to show you this last round, or step 12, is doing a bean stitch all around, which will help hold the bag together. So that's something new I'm doing with my bags. So anyhow, let it continue. Okay, the last step has been run, and it started right here and went up through here, across here, across here. But when it got right here, I had like 3 thread breaks doing this last. It ends right here, doing this little area right here. So I hope that the bean stitch isn't problematic for your machine, because apparently it is for mine. But okay, now we're finished with the sewing. We're going to take it and remove any pieces of, oh, let me show you the back piece, and see, here's the opening that we can turn the bag through. So let's take it out of the hoop, and we'll continue from there. All right, now it's out of the hoop, and I'm going to take my good scissors. These are Kai scissors, and I'm going to cut right straight up, right below the stitches, and then follow the stitches about 1/4 of an inch all the way around, and stop when you get right here. And see, all this mess here is where I had all these thread breaks, but it's not going to show anywhere. So go ahead and do that trimming, and see you back in a moment. All right, this is what your bag should look like after you've done the trimming. At this point, we want to take and pull down, fold over like this, these 2 pieces of the lining fabric, and you might want to press them down so they stay in place, and then take your scissors and just cut right above the line here. Cut right through like this, because you need to remove all of this stuff here, because it's just junk at this point. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you right back. All right, now I've removed all of that, cut it right down here to the right above the stitch line. So now we're ready to turn our bag out through this hole. So go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. All right, this is what you should be looking at after you've turned your bag through the opening here. You will see your lining fabric on both sides. So now you need to take, and there's always a shorter and a longer piece of lining. You need to take and fold your lining in like this. Okay, and I'm going to go to the iron and press it down, and then I'm going to fold this piece in also the same way. And let me go and do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I went and I pressed the top here closed, both of the pieces, and so I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and sew right along the edge of the fabric, closing up this area here. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. All right, now you see that I have sewn this area closed all the way over to here, and now I'm going to reach in through here and turn the bag out. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I think it looks very nice. Now let me just show you. There's a piece that's come loose right here. This is the from step 1, where we put the it showed the it showed, what am I saying? Where we did the outline of the bag, and this piece, usually I just pull it and it'll come right out, but it was just attached to the stabilizer. It's not attached to the bag itself, so it's not going to harm you. I'm just going to cut it off there. It seems to be pretty well fixed in there on both sides. So I'm going to cut that little piece out, but the bag is not coming apart. That's not, like I say, it was only there on the stabilizer to begin with. So don't worry about that. Just cut it off and remove it. And anyhow, I think it's an attractive bag. I would use different uh, color here over here next time, but I still think it's very pretty. So that concludes today's lesson on the Parabola bag, and I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I'm trying to get used to doing them again since I haven't done any in about 6 months. Well, I did one yesterday, so I'm just starting. So I know I'm stumbling around trying to get used to this again. But anyhow, I want to thank you all so much uh, for those of you who continue to support me. And I have some who still, folks who do, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate you, though, all of you, for just watching how this was done. And I hope you like the little bag, and I'm going to post it either later today or tomorrow in the on the group page, and it's a 6x10, and you have probably all of you know by now my Dennis Marek Designs at gmail.com. If you want it, go ahead and send me an email telling me that and telling me the format you want, and I'll send it right out to you. So anyhow, thank you all so much, and hope you have a blessed day. Bye bye.